Hi, everyone. I'm Roy. I'm a financial advisor and an angel investor. I've been part of the Seattle Angel Talkers for a couple rounds, and welcome to Lean Startup. This is a meetup that we talk about all of the parts of a business other than the pitch with a focus on customer development. And, tonight's speaker, we have Scott from Wise that's going to be talking about customer engagement. So I will hand it over to Scott.
Awesome. Thank you, Roy. So I'm going to attempt to share. I've never presented full screen in Zoom, so I'm hoping this is actually looks like Roy, you have to grant me permission to share screen.
Right. Okay, now you should be able to.
That looks like it's working. And then I'm going to go full screen, and let me know if you guys see full screen when it loads. All good? Okay, awesome.
Yes.
So before I get into this, I do want to say I think it might be easier, smoother to take some questions afterwards. I'm definitely going to stick around. I want to answer everything that you guys, any questions you have, connect in any different way. I think this should probably take about 25 minutes, depending on how much of a tangent I might go on each slide. But yeah, the sole intent is to transfer my knowledge to you. I'm not saying it's the right thing to do for everyone, but it's the thing that's worked the best for us. And so that's the whole theme of what this presentation is. So, the title of this event is about practical customer engagement. What I really like to call it is the core community. And so developing and nurturing your core community of users. And the reason I say core community, the reason I bolded it, because to us, it's one of the most important aspects of the business because it helps you do a couple things. It helps you promote new things, products, features. It helps you retain those users. It helps you make your products better. It helps you form a connection with those people. And it helps you and others be inspired. And I'll get into each one of these. The form a connection is maybe one of my favorite parts of it just because it's so fun. But when you look at Wise, we have three primary communities. We have Reddit, which is /r/wisecam. If you guys don't know, Wise actually started as wisecam.com. Then we're like, wow, we can do way more than a camera. Let's try to conquer the world, and we became Wise. So that's why it's Wisecam in the subreddit. We have Facebook, and then finally we have Wise Forums, which is an open source forum that we use on our website. And when you look at each of these three different communities, it's actually super, super interesting because they've all created like their own little ecosystem inside there. Like they all have their own personalities and users, and they've developed their own goals. They've all done this themselves. And it's very interesting because Facebook is a lot of people are there for customer support and sharing videos, whereas Reddit, it's a lot more technical people. So people are actually hacking the camera. People are having a lot of different troubleshooting questions where they help each other. And then the Wise Forums is for even the higher technical people. And so, like, what's like, in terms of business, in terms of what it means to us, in terms of top line, bottom line, how does a community affect us? And so on launch days, it's incredibly important because, before you have a community, you have to build up some kind of interest because no one wants to launch to an open room because nothing happens. And so what we always decide from the start is we're going to figure out how do we get people top of funnel into our community, and then how do we keep them there? Because we know if we could do that, every single product or feature we launched after that, we'd have a captive audience in an owned channel where we didn't have to keep paying. So if you look at this, our own channels drive over 65% of incoming traffic and revenue for product launches, and 40% of those users are repeat customers. And so today I'm gonna essentially do two things. I'm gonna go through the benefits. I want to spell out for you guys like what we actually see is beneficial for the company, and then I'm going to show you the pretty simple steps at a very high level of how to create a community and go about it. And so I did give a quick introduction. So Scott Wilson, Senior Director of Product Marketing at Wise Labs. Super fortunate to have been with the company since we weren't even a name yet, and we had 0 customers. So I've learned just everything that is just insane learning about community, about PR, about marketing. And then today we're right on the edge of hitting 6 million users. And so it's a super interesting business because over 80%, actually probably more. We just don't have the best tracking. Over 80% of our users have been acquired through word of mouth. So we've definitely acquired over 5 million without any paid ads. It's actually to the point now where if we do paid ads, we never even see a blip in new customer acquisition just because our word of mouth is so strong right now. And so, as I said, my only goal here today, I love helping people. People have helped me get to where I'm at today. I'm humble enough to admit that I learned from everyone around me. And so I want to share my knowledge as much as I can with you guys as well. And so if we go back to the slide where I listed out 5 different benefits, the first one was promote new things. And so what does that actually mean? There are 2 different things I mean here. The first one is limiting advertising costs, and the next one is increasing customer value. And so when we talk about limiting advertising costs, it's the obvious one. It's CAC, or customer acquisition. When you have these people already in your community, you no longer have to reach out and find them. They're already there. Now, when you don't completely own the channel like Facebook, Facebook can start messing with the algorithm. You can't reach everyone at once. But we have not had a problem with that whatsoever. We still find that community extremely effective. The next thing is increasing the customer lifetime value. If you know unit economics, which for your pitch decks, you may have been asked to do those things. When you think of LTV, a lot of the time you think like, okay, how do I extract more money out of existing users? That's a very business and finance way to think about it. But the other way to think about it is, a user or a customer bought a camera. Now can we give them a mounting kit, or now can we give them a window kit or an SD card to make this solution even better for them? And so customer value to me means for the customer, but also for the business. And so when you look at what I mean by limiting advertising costs, if we actually get down to the numbers, if you look at our email list, we have about 3 million, probably a little over 3 million at this point, with an incredibly high open rate, because we try not to spam too much, and we try to only provide quality emails. Our Reddit, our subreddit has 37,000 subscribers, hundreds of thousands of daily page views. Our Facebook group, 29,000 members, 93% are active, and our Wise forums, 30,000 active users with millions of page views. And the thing here is we've never done anything, we've never followed for follow, we've never done any of those tactics that just get 1,000 people at once and then we move on to the next. And the reason we never did that is we just don't think those are quality leads. There's a reason that we have 29,000 members in our Facebook and 93% are active. We'd rather have that than have 200,000 people and 1% active. I hope that math works out. I did that on the fly. So the next thing is increasing the customer value. Like I said, 40% of Wise customers are repeat purchasers. That's got to mean something, right? That's got to mean that we are giving them extra value. It means that the things that we're upselling or cross-selling or incrementally selling is actually doing something for that customer. And so having these communities, you can have launch awareness. You can launch new things to existing users very easily. You can make their other products better. So we launched a thermostat, and we're getting ready to launch sensors for each room of the house. And so your thermostat, you can say, hey, heat up this room, but cool this room. And without those sensors, your home couldn't do that, but now it can. And so we can easily reach back out to those existing users and say, hey, this is now a thing. So takeaway benefit 1, building a community creates user loyalty and an audience for future promotions. The next thing is retaining users. Here, I have optimizing the user experience and having fun and engaging. What do I mean by optimizing user experience? Well, it's a channel to educate users on new and old features. So we launched our first camera 3.5 years ago, but in that time, we've done updates every month. And so how do you continuously tell people about these updates? Well, an obvious answer is through the app, right? Like, make sure you have a good UI. Easier said than done, because you have to incorporate design, you have to incorporate engineering, you have to incorporate the PM. But an easier way, send an email, send a community post and pin it. The other thing is troubleshooting and providing customer support. We've actually seen these communities lower our customer support costs because, as I mentioned earlier, people in these communities help each other. And so it cuts down on our tickets, it cuts down on having to hire more people, and we start getting support from these users. But we can also, if we have the capacity, answer them in real time in a place that they find comfortable. And finally, the other one is inspire new applications of product. That's for us as a business. but also for customers. And so I'll get into that a little bit later in a couple different slides, but someone might have a camera they think security, and then they join a community and they're like, oh wow, I never thought to use it that way. I'm going to buy another one to use it that way while I use this one for security. And that happens all the time just because people join a community. And so here's another quick thing. We make a lot of different videos. So these are how-to videos, how to use the Wisecam. We post these in the community. Really, that's the only place that these get shared outside of YouTube, but tens of thousands of views on these. And then we also have tips and tricks sections. And so again, tens of thousands of views, people coming in and checking these out. And so I said the next section, or the section on form a connection, is one of my favorite, but this is actually have fun and engage is probably my second best. So we're having a community. Yes, you should think about it as a business, but this is social, right? Like people are people. That's actually why my LinkedIn is, the URL is Market to Humans, because I just feel so many people look at analytics and they look at a line trending in a different way and they go, how do I get that line from here to here? Really, they should be trying to empathize with that user and think about, how can I get someone more interested in our product? And then at scale, how many of them are like that so I can raise that line? So run community-specific campaigns and have fun for the sake of having fun. One of my favorite things that I did so it sounds like, Ken, you were getting into Home Depot. We got into Home Depot, and this was the first time like we had ever gone into a retailer. And they say, hey, you need to create a cardboard display. I had no idea like what to do there. And then I started learning, like, oh shoot, Home Depot, if they're going to sell our product, they want to make sure that the product sells. And so as the product marketer, I'm thinking, okay, how do we show Home Depot that we mean serious business? How do we make our units fly off the shelves at their stores so they reorder more? And so what I did, and what I started to do with a lot of our different products, is I started creating fun Easter eggs for the community. And so this one right here, this is a screenshot from a Facebook group. So he says, found display at Woodbridge, New Jersey Home Depot, found the secret QR code. So what I did on the top of there, if you look above the little dog on the top, there's a QR code, and for the first 100 people that scanned it, they got a free t-shirt. We never announced that anywhere. We just said, hey, we have these in Home Depot. There might be something special if you walk past one. This ended up going viral within the communities, and people ended up making a trip just to go to Home Depot to scan this thing because they didn't know what it was. So that was a really cool way that we drove traffic from a digital world into a physical world, and Home Depot loved it. It really built a relationship. Another one is we were doing a smart outlet. And a smart outlet is essentially a commoditized product at this point. Very basic, turns on, off, schedules, timers. And so what I tried to do is I tried to figure out, how do we make this thing a little more interesting than just a normal smart plug? And beyond that, how do we make it interesting and fun for our community? And so right here is, I said switches are a thing of the past, and this word past glitched a little bit. Told no one of it, just kind of did it. And when you click it, this happens. And so this is still up on our webpage, actually. And so it flips to a 1980s theme page. The launch email that we sent was 1980s themed. For when we launched this product, all the team members had these 1980s like bright turquoise, kind of like the colors on this page. We're wearing these t-shirts. We gave these t-shirts out to a couple community members that found this thing. And it was just a cool, fun experience overall. And so we were seeing things like this all over our community. Found the portal 1985 on the site. Why is Throwback Thursday? So just a kind of cool, fun thing to do with your community members to make them feel like they found something secret. This was also one of our most shared campaigns ever. So when you look at the different open rates of the email, 260, 229, 205, that's an indicator that this email got shared around from this one person multitudes of times across all their network. And so that's kind of the power of have fun and engage. And so there should always be an objective, right? So, putting that QR code, my objective was to get people in the store because my goal was to sell out of Home Depot product. Another one is one of our team members. When you have a camera, you have a lot of people using it as a pet camera, especially at the price point that we're at. And so our team member had a great idea to create a stuffed toy. So we used a local Seattle company, created a stuffed toy of a Wise little dog toy, and we sent it out to different pet owners. And they started spreading this all over their Instagrams and the core community as well. And so it was just a fun way to show appreciation. So the takeaway benefit two, a community serves as a place to help users optimize their experience with your product and your brand. So how about benefit three, make better products, which probably we all want to do. This one's very simple, very straightforward. One, ask for feedback. Two, find testers. I can't stress that enough. Just being super straightforward about it. Don't worry about competitors. Worry about your customers and how they're using your product, how you can make it better for them, and you'll always surpass your competitors. So here's an example of us asking for feedback. Help us design our doorbell camera. 186 upvotes on Reddit. We had a survey monkey that could help us choose the industrial design, the color, the way it looks, the button, everything. So we try to include community as much as we can in our development process. Our roadmap, completely open, completely public. Like I said, we don't worry about our competitors, we worry about losing our customers. And that's our philosophy at Wise. That was the philosophy at Amazon when we were there as well. The only things we really don't show on our roadmap are things we either want to surprise and delight our users with. Otherwise, we're pretty much an open book with what we're launching. And the whole reason for that is to make sure we're launching the right things and make sure that we get their input on what we're making. And so when we're launching the outdoor camera, here's an example that I did. I just went to Facebook. Hey, everyone, Scott from the marketing team, I need your help. I created a questionnaire with Google Docs. Within hours, I got hundreds of replies, and within 24 hours, over 1,000 replies on this. And so the next thing you want to do is find testers. Depending on what your product is, you want to find actual users that are going to use this thing and test it out. Be super open and have thick skin that it might suck, but be okay with it because you need to make sure it's good for that customer. And so you want to create ways to have your users help you test products and those experiences. And then you want to go ahead and create communities for those people. And so what do I mean by create communities? Well, we have a different Facebook group that's just for beta testers. And we have a place in our Wise forums that's locked for beta testers. We also have alpha testers, much smaller than beta because alpha is way early. It takes a special kind of person to put up with all those bugs and really test it and go through it. And then we have a more, a secret group of members that they honestly feel like they work full-time for Wise. They're just super, super high advocates of our brand. And they do everything from moderation to bug testing to helping us test product pages before we put them out. And so the takeaway benefit three is an active community can help you make your products better, testing, bug bashing, and suggestions. And then benefit four, form a connection. I think this is my favorite one just because it's fun. It doesn't feel like work. I think I'm more on the extrovert side, so I love connecting with people and creating those relationships. It's one of the reasons I'm here. So because of that, I love Reddit as well, and I love the idea of an AMA. If you don't know an AMA, it's an Ask Me Anything or Ask Us Anything. And so we were launching back in July 2019. We were launching our first ever AI feature, which was person detection. And we partnered with a local company that has since been acquired by Apple. Kudos to them. We partnered with Exnor AI. And so on the right-hand side is Tao, one of our developers. On the left-hand side is Carlos, one of their product managers. And we came here for an hour and we launched it. And it was a 58-minute video. We had, it looks like 7,000 people, tons of chatter going on the right-hand side. And we said, hey, we know AI is complicated. The mass market may not really get it. Ask us whatever you'd like. Ask us about privacy. Ask us whatever, and we're going to try to be as open and honest as possible. So we try to replicate this quite a bit. And so we did it with our Wise Bulb as well. So this one had 6,000 people. And so on the right is our co-founder, Dave. He's CMO at Wise. And then on the left side, we got Mike Sabaski, who is the PM of the Wise Bulb. And this one was actually really fun. So this one was up in Nectar Lounge, up in Fremont. We hit 1 million users. And if if you're not familiar with marketing or if you're just learning, one of the things about marketing is being timely is one of the most important things in the world. And so, hey, we're hitting 1 million. Let's do something for 1 million. Let's celebrate. Let's give it a reason. And so I ended up renting out a spot at Nectar Lounge. This was pre-COVID. I invited everyone. It was an open invite. I had no idea what was going to happen. invited everyone on our email list. We sent little cards. It was an RSVP. It felt like a birthday party. We ended up packing the place. It was an open bar. We called our beer note. So it's our idea of a keynote, but we did it at a bar. It was our first one, and so we just kind of had fun with it. And so we had thousands of people watch. So this thing was like 2 or 3 hours long, like the entire thing, and people were watching it. We had this guy right here. I wish I could have come to this. It would have been awesome to meet this incredible team. So inspiring. Here's another one where someone took a screenshot of that presentation, put it on Reddit, got upvoted. They say Wise loves their customers, and because one of a couple of the slides was an entire section just dedicated to like, how do we make sure we keep incorporating our community in our product? Like, how do we not lose sight of that community? So this was a time when our CEO was essentially saying like, this is how important you guys are. Like, you are on our radar at all moments of time. So takeaway benefit 4, build an authentic relationship between your business and your user. Just try. It doesn't have to be perfect. I had no idea if that thing was gonna do well. For all intents and purposes, I told our CEO, I was like, only plan for like employees to be there. I had no idea if anyone was gonna watch the thing or if anyone was even gonna join. Free beer may have helped though. The next one is benefit 5, be inspired. So right here, new product use cases and new user segments. I've been humbled probably week after week with this. As a product marketer, I always want to know the answers before other people. I always want to figure out, how can I show you all the benefits? How can I show you all the cool designs, all the uses to inspire you to buy it? And then I come in the community, I'm like, God, how did I'd never even thought about that. And so I'll show you some examples because I'm a visual learner. Here, security camera, right? Why is $20 security? I mean, that's what people think this is. Not this guy. This guy, to him, $20 is worth making sure smoke is coming out of his barbecue. That's what he's buying. That's the solution he bought. $20, make sure smoke's coming out. This person right here, probably on the more techie side. So this guy said his home is a 1/4 mile away from the road, and he can't get a Wisecam all the way out there. So what did he do? He hacked it to put a telescoping lens on it. So our PMs are also like me. They're being humble. They're like, oh, geez, never thought about this. Like, is this something we can do? And we never would have thought about that. But this guy posted this and he got everyone talking about it. Here is so this is a contact sensor. Normally, so the other thing about Wise is our price points allow some pretty interesting, unique, and curious things to happen. And so normally, if you were to buy a contact sensor, it's marketed as window and door sensors. So it alerts you when someone breaks in, right? That's what 99% of people market it as. Well, me being the product marketer for a less expensive and more affordable product, I was like, well, people are going to buy more of these. Let's think of some really interesting things. So on the page, I put like a cookie jar because I didn't really know what else people would be using it for. So I kind of like threw a cookie jar on the page, hoping that people would be like, okay, I can use it for other things. This person used it to know when the mailman came. So every time that mailbox opened, he got an alert, went out and got the mail. So how about new user segments? This one is, if you're looking to jump into a new market, this is fascinating. Never would have known. I grew up in Indiana, never would have guessed this. But we have so many farmers that put cameras in their chicken coops to make sure that they're okay, to see if foxes or coyotes are coming in. We have a lot of people using it in their hobbies. So 3D printing, laser engraving. There's actually a makerspace down in South Lake Union I went to, and I paid for my membership. I'm working. I started seeing Wisecams everywhere, and it was just the craziest thing. I'm like, why do you have all these This was before I knew this. I was like, why do you have all these Wisecams? And he was like, 3D printing takes so long that people want to be able to check in to see what the progress is. So takeaway of benefit 5, keep a close eye on the community because you'll be inspired and see things you otherwise may not have thought about. So those are all the benefits. I hopefully I didn't go through that way too quickly. I can answer all those at the end of this. Now I'll briefly go through how to actually go about creating this community and creating an engaged community. So there's 6 steps here. The first one is go to the user. Second one is set rules and expectations. Third one is be present and participate. The fourth one is show and tell. Fifth one is create a desire for the user. And then the 6th one is support community managers. So what do I mean by going to the user? Well, there are 2 things here. One, gather around the user, don't have them gather around you. And then the second one is use social listening tools to help you find where these communities are. So what do I mean by gathering around the user? Your users are already in different communities. Facebook has paid hundreds of millions of dollars to get those people in Facebook. I'm pretty sure they're not going to want them to leave to a different community. So you want to go, just like, getting into Home Depot, you leverage all that traffic that they've worked decades to accumulate. You want to go to Facebook because they've already done that work to get those community members. If you're a SaaS company, maybe you want to be at GitHub. If you're a woodworking company, maybe you want to go to a woodworking forum. So you really want to try to avoid saying like, hey, leave Facebook, come over here, because that's not going to work, and you'll see that in a second. Actually, you'll see it right now. So 96%, so I did a survey in preparation of this because I knew that that was true, but I wanted to get hard data to prove to you guys and feel really confident about saying that. And it was actually way more than I thought. 96% of our community users only belong to one community, which is insane to think about. With tens of thousands of belonging to Facebook, belonging to Reddit, to forums, they don't really overlap at all. So when I previously talked about all these people creating their own goals and their own personalities, it's true, because those personalities don't really ever collide or mix between communities. And so the next one, if you guys haven't heard about it, this is a really developing space. A ton of products are being created, which is great for us, the business owners, because then the price starts coming down and it becomes more realistic to get these. So social listening is a space where you can type in a keyword. For example, Wise, very easy, W-Y-Z-E. No one is, there's a rapper named Wise, but otherwise no one else. If you have a pizza shop and it's Tom's Pizza, you're gonna have to get more creative with the logic. But essentially what it is, so one of the tools that I recommend I used for a really long time is Brand24. It's affordable and it works. And so here's an example. Even if they don't link to you, link to your web, because if they link to your website, there's a tool called Ahrefs, which I recommend like 1,000 times. But if they don't link to you, you still want to know who's talking about you. And so Brand24 has opened up so many segments. Like when I say woodworking, I mean it, because I never thought about it, but it started it started slowly showing up more and more that people were mentioning the WiseCam. Another one is bird watching. A huge cohort of ours are bird watchers. And the only reason we found that was because we started seeing Wise mentioned in these bird watching communities. So takeaway step one, make it easy for users to join your community by gathering around them. Step two, set rules and expectations. You got to be a little bit of a police person when you're doing this. This is kind of a boring one, but you need to define rules and clarify goals and enforce those rules. And so what do I mean? I mean, create clear rules and goals for your community, and then ensure every user can easily find those when joining. This may sound like it conflicts with the community creating their own goals and rules. Really what I mean at this is a very high level, like no cursing, no selling competitor products, no trying to recruit people from our group into your Facebook group. So here's an example of what we do. So to join our Facebook group, which is actually private. So our Facebook group is private right now. People seek it out. They ask to join, and we still have 29,000 people, 93% active. So Gwen Evans has been our community manager since we launched. They will every now and again post this new announcement and pin it to the top. And they do this because there's so many new people joining all the time. And they just want to make sure that they're always aware of what's going on. Enforcing the rules. This is not the fun part, but it's needed. You won't want to do it, but you need to do it. A growing member base is going to present problems. There are going to be people that look at your group and go, wow, you have 5,000 people in there? I'm going to try to steal those people. I've been tempted to do that as a product marketer myself. I want to go to the Ring group. I want to steal those people, but you can't do that. You should play by the rule or by the rules. And so when this does happen, you need to nip it in the bud. We also have a very, I said we're approaching 6 million people, right? We have a lot of different personalities, and some are not as politically correct as others. And so you need to address those to make sure you maintain the integrity of your community. And so here's a screenshot. This has happened a number of times. This is one of my favorites that I like. Gwen was just like straight up, hey folks, like I saw this one time and I was like, I did it because I don't know if I would have done this, but Gwen did it. And it received the best comments, engagement, like praises from the community. But I won't read the whole thing. Gwen was essentially like, hey folks, we need to have serious talk. There have been multiple threads in the, there have been multiple threads, people post a question, yada, yada. There was a lot of bullying. There was a lot of condescending language. And Gwen did this and it was done. And so you just want to, you need to make sure that you're maintaining the integrity of the community, because if you let it deteriorate, it becomes, no one wants to go there anymore. It becomes garbage. So takeaway of step 2, keep your community healthy and growing with rules and guidelines. Boring, but necessary. Step 3, be present and participate. I used to have a different word other than present, and Gwen corrected me. And so I bolded the word present. I think it was, I used to have the word active. And Gwen said it's not about being active, it's about being present. And for whatever reason, that has never left my mind, and that's kind of like changed me as a person. Like, there's there's difference between posting all the time and just being there when you need to be there. So 5 things here: respond, ask for help, solicit feedback, acknowledge people, and be social. So respond. Doesn't have to be all the time. My rule of thumb, do it as you would your normal social media. Otherwise, it's gonna, people are very good at sensing inauthenticity. So be yourself, be genuine, and you'll go a long way with that. The other one is ask for help. Community members, they can help you with CX, or they can help you with UX. They want to alpha test your products. They don't really see it as work. Think about all the people that are testing Nintendo games. Like, this is a passion of theirs. They want to make these things better. They buy these, and so they only want to make the thing they bought better. And be shameless. We're a word of mouth company. When we sell a camera for $20, we have no money for marketing, which is the saddest thing coming from a product marketer, but that's the fact. So what do? You say, hey, can you share this with your friends and family? And you won't, you may not believe it, because I didn't at first, but this works. Like, this, just doing that works, because day to day, no one ever thinks like this customer or this business needs more users. But when you say, hey, like, we're on a mission, you're part of this mission, you're part of this vision of having affordable technology for everyone, like, help us help you, like, tell everyone you know. And by putting that top of mind, they will do it. The other one is solicit feedback. Like I said, these are the people that are going to be using your product. They want to help. Don't be afraid to ask them. Ask them about the outdoor camera like I did. Do whatever you can. Also, let them vote on things like the industrial design for the doorbell, or features or colors of a product. We did this for our early version of our subscription service called Complete Motion Capture. The community wanted to name it that, so we went with it. Another one is acknowledge. Publicly or privately, you should know your audience here. A lot of people love being the lead singer of the community, and they love that endorsement from the brand. Other people are like, hey, please, like, don't do that. Like, please message me privately. I don't want all this attention. And so just know who you're working with. I'd say always start out by a private DM and see if they're okay with it. Do it within the walls of your business and in your culture. We're moving offices now, but in our offices up until this point, we have frames of screenshots from Facebook of people helping other people, or user-generated content. We get letters from people's kids that draw wise cams. We put it on our walls. And then again, within your product and features, names, maybe little Easter eggs, whatever you think might be fun for people. And again, be social. I like to say it's called social media for a reason. By the way, I know everything I say is strongly opinionated by me. I say use your own voice. You might talk to a social media manager that says use the company's voice. I think it's a little more authentic to use your own voice, and it just kind of comes across as more trustworthy. Have a GIF war if you need to, GIF war if you're that person, and be a community member yourself. So participate, help other people troubleshoot. If I'm a marketing person, but I've gone onto Facebook Messenger and I've helped people at like 8 p.m. on a Saturday because I just had the time to do it. So takeaway of step 3, be available for your members and participate in conversation to let your community know you're present. Step 4, show and tell. One of the biggest things about being a marketer that I've learned is show is way more important than tell. But show your outputs, make announcements. So what do I mean by show outputs? Well, if you ask the community for something, like, show it back to them. Show like what that input did. It really sucks and it's really draining to always be asked something but never see like, why did you ask? Excuse me. And so one of the things we did is that AI algorithm I mentioned back in that YouTube video. We were having a lot of people, we gave them the option to submit videos to us, so then we could annotate it and train our AI model. And so what we did on a weekly basis, we'd be like, hey, you guys submitted like 30,000 videos. We increased the accuracy from 88% to 89%. And we did this. We were essentially saying like, you are moving the needle. Thank you. And that just kept people going. That made people feel like they're part of something bigger than just simply submitting a video and it goes off into space. Here's a very pixelated screenshot of what I did after the survey. I came back and I said, hey, we had almost 700 responses. We ended up having over 1,000 after 24 hours. But wow, thank you so much. Here are the answers to that survey. You gave me the data. I'll share it back to you. Like, this is what I did. I was looking for all the different use cases that you guys are going to use it for, and kind of the photos I need to take for it. And so I provided them a word cloud, like, hey, this is how your other community members are going to be using this. So making announcements, our biggest thing, we try to be as transparent as possible. So be transparent with your community, keep users informed. And if you do this, if you feel like you're doing the right thing, you're always going to be building trust. Even if you don't think so, there have been people in our community that lurk for like 2 years, and then they'll send us an email. They go, hey, I didn't really trust the camera company, never heard of you guys before. And so I just subscribed to your community and I've been watching for the last 2 years, but like now I feel confident enough to buy. And so like, it's crazy, right? You never think about that. You never think that there are all these lurkers out there, but always be doing whatever you can to build that person's trust, because that's what's going to win you business. And so you want to say the good things, the positive things. So, hey, we released a new version, a new announcement. Also, you want to announce the bad things. Hey, we had a service outage. Or actually, after I made this, not too long after I first presented this, we had a huge data leak to the point where we got on CNN and New York Times, and we posted that right away. We essentially said, hey, step by step, this is what happened. We don't know if our lawyers are against us saying this, but we think you deserve this as users. And it was incredibly well received. And we made that decision because we were in a conference room. We said, what would we want as customers? And this is what happened. So data leaks have been happening left and right recently. And a couple of them I remember, because they say, they'll email you in September. They say, hey, we had a data leak in March. And you feel burned. You kind of feel like, why didn't you tell me in March? And you lose it creates this barrier of trust where you think like, okay, you're never going to tell me things as they happen unless they're good. So at Wise, we try to break that. We try to say like, hey, whether good or bad, you're going to know right away. And that's what a relationship is. And so takeaway step 4, talk to your community and let them know you're listening by showing and telling. Step 5, create desire for the user. So you got to create a reason for people to join these communities if you really want them to join. Avoid superficial transactions, my opinion, and promote awareness wherever you can. And so give a reason. My favorite example here is I remember being at a Shell gas station, leaning against my car as my car fills up with gas, and then the Shell screen flashes. It says, join our Facebook group. I was like, why would I join a Facebook group of a gas pump? So I didn't, because it never told me why. So you should always answer, in my opinion, why would I want to join? And so maybe it's sharing extra use cases. Maybe it's receiving additional support. Maybe it's being part of the building process itself. Each one of these things will resonate differently with a different person. So here are a couple of fun examples, real life examples that we did. We said, hey, help us name our conference room. This was back in our previous office. The way you could do it was you had to go into our community and submit a name to us. If you know anything about Wise, it sounds like a couple of you do. Our camera is Wise Cam, our bulb is Wise Bulb, our headphones, Wise Headphones. We're a very literal company. And so our community were a bunch of smart Alex and named it Wise Room, which we really appreciated, but we ended up naming that. So we said, hey, hey, again, we'd show it and tell. So we showed them in the next newsletter. We said, hey, you guys voted, you guys named it Wise Room. Here's another thing. We tried to say, like, how can we stack more value in these communities? And so we started this program called Early Access. In our minds, it was brilliant. to actually execute it way more difficult, but it has been doing well. And the idea is, the reason we came up for it is because, like, on our third product launch, people go, hey, the product already sold out, and I've been a user for like several months. I was one of your first users. Like, why didn't I get first dibs? And we're like, yeah, why didn't you get first dibs? Like, how do we fix that? And so we went to work and we created this program called Early Access, where if you sign up for this program, like a new community, so to speak, it was an email list. We're gonna announce 24 hours ahead of time that there's gonna be a new product launch, and you're gonna have first dibs at it. And so in addition to that, we started including these stickers. And so right here, I backed Wise Plug, a simple sticker. People start collecting these things like crazy, which is so fun to see. So how about avoid superficial transactions? Again, just my opinion. For whatever, I don't like when a company is trying to buy me. To me, as a customer, that signals like, can you not get me any other way? Or like, can you not get customers any other way? Everyone's different. That's me. And so I introduced this program with Gwen called Community Spotlight, where we essentially say like, hey, we monitor this community really closely. For folks that provide a ton of help, are super active, always helping others, engaging and providing user content, like, we're going to reward you. We'll give you a camera, we'll give you some swag, we'll give you whatever. And so we created this thing, and it created a lot of fun buzz in the community. And it promoted a lot of great interactions in that community. And so here's another one where we started putting user video of the month in our emails. And so we didn't send a $100 gift card, and instead we kind of sent some novelty stuff, like, so this was someone's cat like flying across the screen. So we sent a cat butt coaster and a cat hammock, kind of on brand with who Wise is, just trying to be silly, but you know, that's all we do. And so because we put this here, other people want to be featured here, want to receive these silly gag gifts, and so they send tons of videos. And the good thing about sending videos is now we can use these in our marketing. So there's always an objective and a goal to what we do. So how do you promote awareness? Super simple, super straightforward. Social handles on packaging, emails, and website. If you can, add the whys. So join our community forums to contribute to our product roadmap. Again, give a reason for people to come to these communities. Here's one that I did. So our e-commerce person, I don't know if this is still a thing, but at one point in time, like a year or so ago, you needed 20,000 followers on Instagram to be able to have a swipe up feature to allow people to shop. And our e-commerce person wanted to unlock this. And so she came to me, she was like, hey, Scott, how can we generate more users with our company value of like getting them organically and not trying to follow for follow. And so I had her film me writing this email, and then we live streamed like the sending of this email. And so I said, hey, we're on Instagram right now. Come like check us out and watch us do this, but the only way you can see it is by following us. And so yeah, we did it, and we passed up that 20,000, but we did it in a way that's on brand, and that is fun for our community. Takeaway step 5, give people a reason to join your community, and they'll keep coming back. And if I've been talking too long for you, this is the last step. Support community managers. So internal hire, in my opinion, super needed. You need to have that person to have skin in the game, but also to be passionate and committed to your mission. And then also identify those moderators and super users. And so when I talk about community manager, I'm not talking about social media. Social media is posting memes and fun videos around the office, and they have a completely different objective and goals. Community manager is the liaison between internal teams like PMs and marketing and the community. They are that voice of the customer. If you go into our community today, you will see people tagging Gwen. Gwen is that well known in those communities that people will tag them to get their attention. We've been building out that team a lot. Now I think we have like 6 people on that community team. Their only job is to be that advocate of that user, and transfer information between us. And then identify moderators and super users. So if there are a bunch of active people in your community, like, acknowledge it. When you were an employee, like a lot of you guys are entrepreneurs now, like if you were ever employees, how good did it feel to randomly be told by your boss, like, hey, I acknowledge what work you're doing. I appreciate it. Like, do you want more responsibility? So we do that with our users. We say, hey, we see you've been so active in this community. Like, are you up for being a moderator? people love it. People like jump at that chance. People want to help. So recognize these people. Of course, it's a two-way street. Again, you know, a word that I've already used once is relationship. You need to trust them and they need to trust you. And so give them these powers to moderate different people, and you continue building that trust. So takeaway is step 6, community deserves dedicated management, both internally and externally. And that was a lot of talking, but that's my wrap up. The benefits of creating a community and the steps that we take at a very high level to create that community. This is my personal email at Wise. Totally open to all you guys if you want to connect. You're never bothering me. If you have questions about community, about marketing in general, be sure to connect with me there. But otherwise, Roy, I'm not sure kind of what you were thinking, but I'd love to open up the Zoom to chat or questions or anything.
Yeah, that'd be great. Yeah, let's just have an open forum. Anyone who has any questions, feel free and ask away.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead, Keenan.
So a lot of information. Thank you for, I guess, putting this on. My question is, because I think a lot of us are, you know, startups, so either pre-revenue or a little bit of revenue, and always cash is king, right? So are there any recommendations on, I guess, good, cost-effective avenues to, I guess, reach out to potential customers?
So is your question around like how do you start getting those people to your community?
Yeah, especially if, you know, you're maybe pre-product, so you're trying to get out there. People might be saying, "Hey, well, what is this? Why do I care? I can't even buy it."
Yeah, so there are a lot of different strategies for doing this, and it's not easy. But I'm not gonna make it sound like it's easy because it is hard. But I've actually done this exact exercise with other folks around Seattle that have been helping. A big one that I found actually pretty effective are newsletters, and at the highest level, that sounds like yeah, I've heard newsletter before, but it's crazy effective. So you just got to find a different twist on it. Here, I'll give you 2 examples that I recently just did, and they came from Product Hunt. So this one guy found a niche where he reads scientific marketing papers, and he synthesizes them twice a week, and he posted this on Product Hunt. It got upvoted. All it is it's a newsletter, and what he's actually doing is he's building this community to then eventually, when he has his actual product, he's going to launch it to this email list. So that's one example. Another example, I think it's called Charter, and the spin that they took is I also belong to their newsletter. They show trends in graph form, and then they give a quick summary of what it is. And I'm really interested in that because it'll show Tesla, or it'll show like something in the business markets. And so they accumulate these communities, and then so what they do when they're building that email list, then they introduce a Facebook group, then they introduce a subreddit, and they go, hey, to like network or to learn more, discuss more of this, like hop on over to this Facebook group where we're having an active open discussion. And so there are actually a lot of really cool tools. This is actually what I've been seeing from my end. This is an emerging tool market. There's one called curated.io, I think. But there are a lot of different ways that people are making this way easier to do. The second method I'd recommend that is also helpful is just being, so, let's say you're selling, let's say it is appliances or whatever, like dishwashers. You want to find those, like, let's say there's like 10 key forums or question areas where a lot of people go to ask those. You should be going in there as just a consultant, like answering people. And I would say 99% of what you say should be value and information. And then the last 1% should say like, hey, by the way, if you do have more questions about this, like I wrote up an article over here. And so that's one thing that you could do. Another thing that you could do, that if you're looking to build some SEO, here, maybe I can pull it up right now. If you guys aren't familiar with SEO, a big part of that is link building, or PR, which they're now kind of combining to call digital PR these days. And Google essentially says like, okay, like these reputable websites wrote about Scott, so we're now going to surface Scott higher. And so one of the ways that you can do it is by guest posting on other people's websites. So let me pull this one up for you. There's this tool that I love. It's called TVIs. I talk about it in another presentation I do about PR and how to get PR. And I briefly created a PR blog that I need to spend way more time on. But I emailed TVIs. I'm like, hey guys, I have a story idea for you. How to get customers with earned media using your tool. And so I literally reached out through their help desk. I sent them this story idea. And I said, hey, I'll write the blog post for you. So they asked me, they go, okay, what will it cost us? I'm like, I was a little surprised, but I was like, it won't cost you anything. Like the win-win here is I will give you guys content for your marketing. But if you look right here, I link to my website. And so I naturally link to my website, which then has an email sign up. And I get people to go there. And so this is 99% not about me. And then 1% about me, but disguised as not being about me. Though I say, like, I don't try to trick people. I say I've written a separate blog post here. And so now if another tool that I use daily is called SimilarWeb. Again, I would love to do another presentation where I teach you guys PR if you want, but so this is showing that they have 99,000 people visiting per month. This is really, really accurate for the most part. And so like, wow, I just got Google to see a website getting 100,000 people a month linked to my website. And so, in the entrepreneur stage, you need to be grinding and hustling. And so you want to create a list of dream websites you want to go out to and pitch the same thing. And the idea should always be what's in it for them. And so I know that they're selling a tool. They need some kind of testimonial or some way to show that this thing works. And so I addressed those needs and I kind of played to that desire, what they're trying to do. So I hope I answered some of your question. The real answer is it's a brain session between like me and you trying to figure out like, yeah, what works for your customers. And then we just you got to get scrappy like that. You got to figure out, do you go to Quora and do you answer questions? Do you, every day between 7 and 8 a.m., do you dedicate that to answering questions on Quora and then go, by the way, here's a blog post I wrote. So you just got to figure out what works for you and what really matters with your customers and where they are. Did that help you out? And I'm happy to connect outside of this as well to more tailor it to your needs.
What I'll say about that is, this is also for founders. This is part of your founder's story. You're going to be much more desirable or looked upon as a founder if you are a thought leader in the space that you're trying to market. And so a lot of what Scott is talking about is creating that reputation that you know what you're talking about in this whatever area that you are marketing, right? So, sometimes like account founders, they want to do some good or they have some sort of social justice like bent, but there's nothing in the background that they have that's in any way related to that. It's this thing that they want to do, but then why start with a startup? Why didn't they start with volunteering? Why didn't they do something else to show that this is a true passion? So, that's how you gain a reputation, and from a reputation, you can start building your business from there.
So Roy, the other thing I want to add, if you want to get meta with it, like look at what I'm doing now, right? I'm trying to build this reputation in the Seattle area that Scott loves marketing. And so when people have marketing questions, I want them to come to me. I'm not benefiting off of it, right? Like I'm not trying to sell you guys on anything. I just love doing it right now, which might be silly, but I just love doing it. So that's what I'm doing right now, even with this presentation, is I'm trying to build that reputation of being a marketer. And so, I do have an email list, but I don't do anything with it. So I'm not going to like send you guys there right now because you probably want to hear from me for like 6 months. But yeah, I would totally do, like if I were trying to build if I were trying to build that blog out, I'd say, hey guys, like, thanks for attending this meeting. if you guys want to hear more, like I go way more detail on my website, go here. And then scale that up, right? Like do it with, start with some groups, try to get bigger groups, like maybe go talk at Moz in Seattle. And now all of a sudden, instead of a more intimate group like the 11 of us, you're talking to like 2,500 people. So there's so many ways you can grind out trying to build that list. You just need to make sure that they're qualified people, because there's nothing more depressing than grinding away to build a list or buying people to your community, launching something, and then realizing they were all bought or they're all fake or they didn't matter. That stings. And I've worked with people that have done that, and it sucks. So yeah, Roy, you're totally on point with that.
Scott, I was curious. Great presentation, by the way. I loved it.
Thank you.
And I can see how this totally works for B2C, which from a prior company, I never thought to even do. But with our current company, ours is going to be B2B, so a little bit more kind of C corporation groups that we're trying to sell to in a sense. Would all this, you would think, work for B2B as well too?
Yeah. So this question has been asked a lot, and I've given a lot of thought to it. I'd like to say yes, but I think it just needs to be tailored to what you're doing. So I'm working with a company right now that is selling B2B SaaS, and we just found that their community is in GitHub and Slack. And so it's not Facebook, it's not Reddit, but it's GitHub and Slack. And so we have the people that are advocating for the product in their companies in these Slack groups. And so we have these like senior leaders in our Slack group, like saying like, hey, how did you convince your team to adopt this? Or how did you get your CFO to do this? And so, yeah, I think that's an amazing question that I've been giving a lot of thought to. When I first gave this presentation, a year or so ago, I knew that was going to come, or I knew like someone's going to say, yeah, but you're a camera company, it's UGC, it's great. So I tried to proactively answer that, and I found communities for Moan Faucet, for like Superfeet insoles, and they're not always about the faucet themselves. They're not always about the insoles. They're about kitchen renovation, and they're about running and hiking. And so I would say just make sure you're stretching what you're thinking about beyond your product and more about what they're doing with that product. And maybe you can form the community around that. Did that help
personally, I think
Yeah, awesome. Thanks, Scott.
personally, I think in the B2B world, it's even more important because it's ultimately about your B2B is about personal relationships, right? Like, at the end of the day, your clients have a choice of who to actually go to. And so why would they go to you? And the reality is they go to you because they like you, or they respect you, or they know you. And so the more you're actually out in the real world and they know that you know what you're talking about, the more that they're going to see you as someone that they would want to do business with. So to me, the B2B world is much more important.
Can you take a moment and talk a little bit about the stages of how, you go from I have 1 follower to I have 1,000 followers to I have, 29,000 followers, and how maybe the conversations in the communities change as the number of people start?
Yeah. Yeah, good question. Right. I'll start from the back end of it. When we have like 100,000 people in these communities, that's actually no different than having 15,000. And so there's a point where really what we've done at Wise is we acknowledge that we can no longer be as intimate as we'd like. And so we hire more of those community members. And so maybe there's a golden ratio or a really good ratio where it's like, okay, for every 10,000 community members, we should have 1 community manager. But otherwise, we haven't really seen too much of an issue. And I think that's probably because the platforms they're using have already put a lot of thought into that. So Facebook, they know that these groups are so big. And so how do they make these things manageable? Same thing with Reddit. They know they're huge. So how do they make it manageable? So it's actually easier when you have a lot of folks. When you have one or two folks, you don't want to come off as like creepy and overbearing and like you need them, but you want to come off as like, hey, I'm on like, you got to, in our part, when we started as a business, everyone was in those communities. Our CEO, our COO, I was, our customer support, our community manager, everyone was in there. And these people were like, holy crap, like, how do I have access to everyone? And it built this trust because, if you think yourself as a consumer, next time you're looking at a product or like a SaaS, or if you need to implement something for your business, you're going to be skeptical. You're going to be like, okay, but I buy the camera now, but is it going to be supported a year from now? Or I implement this structure into my business now, but it's going to take $10,000 up front to implement it. But like, what if they fold in a year? And so you always have to be dispelling that by being extremely active and building that trust. And the way we did that is we just had every member in there and we try to be as present as possible. As your business grows, so do your individual responsibilities, and you kind of have to be okay with backing away. I still go in there daily and refresh and look at things that are happening and like things and comment every now and again, but it's no longer my primary job. And so, when you start growing that much, you move away, you let the community manager take over. But if there's a community of one person, you need your team in there to show like, hey, this isn't just like an empty room. No one wants to join an empty room, right? Like that's a sales tactic for bars, for nightclubs, for restaurants. No one wants to join an empty room. And so the more activity you can have in there, maybe you're even posting updates of if you're doing a software product, maybe in that community to at least have activity, you post change logs, or you say, hey, this is what we're doing next week, or here are the company updates from this week, and you treat individual customers like investors. And I think that can carry you a really long way until you get more people where it starts kind of like self-sustaining itself, and people start working together, talking together, and then you can start doing like fun campaigns like, hey, you should tell your community manager like, hey, let's, there's like 30 people in here, like let's do something special for them. Maybe you do an interview with the CEO, or maybe you do, or if they're local, maybe you do something like a lunch or dinner where you all meet up in a park or something. And so you do things that don't scale at the very beginning, and then eventually you try to figure out how you can scale that. Awesome. Anyone else have any questions?
Yeah, I had a quick one, kind of off that topic. You mentioned that if you have like the different channels and there's slightly different topics or cultures to each one of them, were those topics and cultures kind of fostered by Wise, like intentionally? Did they grow that way organically and then you kind of fostered them that way? How did that work?
Yeah, they grew organically. The easiest way to answer that, we went into this not knowing too much. We were a bunch of people that didn't really have a ton of experience outside of like working for big companies. And, as you guys know, it's such a transition going from a very fine role or like very like, narrow role in a big company to like, oh, wow, you're doing everything. And so we just did things that we thought we should do. And we said, okay, let's start a subreddit, let's start a Facebook community, let's start a forum, and let's start trying to get people to these things. And that was our number one goal, get people to these things. As people started coming, we're like, oh, wow, interesting. Like from an observer point, we're like, this one, the Reddit one is super techy. Like people are helping each other over here. And then Facebook, people, probably because Facebook is Facebook, people are really social and sharing UGC and all that stuff. And so, I wonder if it could have gone against us if we tried to mold it into a way it wasn't, because then people would have been like, all right, this isn't for me. Like you're trying to overly moderate this. This isn't fun. So I would say, again, just like set the rules and expectations to like be a good person in these communities. And that's maybe it. And then let them grow by themselves.
Cool. Yeah, thanks.
Anyone else?
I'll say
I'd love to
one
have
thing.
you do the PR talk. Let me know when I can schedule you for the PR talk.
Oh my gosh, John, I have, since my last PR talk, I feel like I've learned another's book worth of like PR. So yeah, I would love to do another PR talk and present that to you guys.
So I'm doing, the Seattle Angel group is doing the workshops Thursdays at noon. And I'm out to the middle of April, but anything after April 22nd, I'm happy to put you in.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
One thing I'll say about what you speaking about social media. So one of the companies that I have invested in, and it's a consumer packaged goods company. We were going over the marketing strategy and social media, and their design firm or whoever they hired was, all they were trying to do was push product on Instagram. And I told them, like, you got to pull that back about 80%. Like, the social media has to be about values, what your corporate brand stands for. If it's just coupons and product, why would anyone sign up for it? And so, I would ask, like, would you sign up for your own social media if you were just searching it? Because I wouldn't sign up if it was just coupons and product information. So
Yeah.
that's why having a community is so important. And again, for angels, even if you're pre-revenue, this is traction. Do you have a consumer base that actually likes you, follows you? And this is honestly what we look for. So if you don't have a following, you don't have a customer base, you don't know how to reach them, that frankly, I don't know, I wouldn't invest in a company like that.
Scott, have you guys, given the onslaught of the, what's it called? The club, I totally forgot what it's called, but it's the club something. Have you guys thought about reaching out to that? I'm sure somebody's heard of that.
This Clubhouse? Are you talking about the Clubhouse
yes,
app?
Yes.
Oh my God. I don't know. It's so hard to stay up to date on like all this stuff. I'm not even on TikTok yet. I've been on Clubhouse. I've been asked to talk on Clubhouse as well. And I just haven't got, I haven't gotten around to it. I think it's interesting.
Do it,
Yeah,
do
I
it
think-
soon, Scott, because it's, it's doing the hype cycle now, and the hype cycle will drop off in another month or so.
Yeah.
So do it soon.
I would say, the way I understand Clubhouse is it's not like I may be wrong on this, but if I understand it the way, so it's kind of like a fleeting room, right? You create it and then it ends and you have to come back and create it again and it ends. And so each time you kind of have to get these people coming. And so and by the way, I see a lot of people doing this. I see it as a really great community for selling like professional services like coaching or salesmen or investing. I think it would be great for John. I actually think it'd be amazing for you. I've sat in so many rooms where so it's like 3 investors and they go, we'll listen to your pitches, do a minute pitch. And I just sit back and I listen to like people pitch, and then the investors give feedback on the pitch, and then they say, hey, join our email list and reach out here. And so like if I were trying to find more angel investors, or if I were trying to find people to invest in, that is definitely an avenue that I think would do well for that. For Wise Consumer Electronics, it might be a little harder, especially like at the level we're at where we have millions of people. Another 20 may not be worth it because those rooms are fleeting. But just like, as I was talking to Keenan, like everything is so specific to what you're trying to do. And like, I will help you grind away to figure out how to get there. And I think like Bob, I'd even think about like Clubhouse, but when I started thinking about John, I was like, yeah, that'd be perfect for him or for Roy. So yeah, I think that's a really great idea depending on what your business is.
Yeah, John and Roy, actually, I've been on Clubhouse a lot, and I've noticed a lot of startups, VCs, and everything have their little group thing. So I was thinking about us doing something like that for either SAC or for the APIS, because that's exactly what they're doing, just like 1 minute pitches. for the whole hour. And then there's certain expertise that kind of gives some feedback too. So it's pretty good in that sense.
Right. So the curmudgeon in me wonders, we do these little workshops where we do the pitches on Zoom. What makes 1 minute pitches on Zoom different than 1 minute pitches on Clubhouse? And then I become a Luddite.
Anyone can jump in, and so you can get new people that aren't in your community yet.
No, I get it. I get it. But I'm a curmudgeon at this point.
Anyone else have any questions?
I have one for you, Scott, on creating new community groups versus posting or engaging in existing groups as either an individual or as a company. So like you mentioned, you wanting to, like, you should have an authentic voice as an individual. So would you recommend creating communities for the company and engaging in that space as that individual? Just kind of,
Yeah.
If you had a totally new slate, where would you start?
Yeah, a totally new slate. Just go easiest. Like you might kill yourself overthinking, like, okay, how would my business talk? Like, how do they expect me to treat them? Everything. I say just start. If you look at Wise, we have a Wise business page, and then we have a Wise core community, but no one posts on behalf of the Wise logo. No customer wants that. And so I post on behalf of Scott. So I sent you those screenshots. I'm like, hey, I'm Scott. I'm the marketing guy. I'm a person. I'm human. I want you to help me. And so we've just found that so effective that people really appreciate that. And, I truly believe this. That's the reason we were able to pack the Nectar Lounge with people coming, because we're not just a logo talking to them. We're that one comment I had, it says, this is the most incredible team ever. I don't know if that's true, but this is how people feel about us, because they can see us as people.
Thanks, Scott.
Yep. Anyone else? And by the way, if no one asks anything here, you all have my email. I'll put it in here again if you didn't catch it. But you can always follow up and ask me questions through email as well. By the way, another thing I did, I didn't even mean to, but I did this like 2 or 3 weeks ago on LinkedIn. I don't think LinkedIn has really watered down their algorithm like Facebook has. I think there's still a lot going on there. And I posted, I got us on The Price is Right, and then I used TV Eyes to download this segment. And I said, and so the other thing TV Eyes does is it shows you the quantitative, it shows you like the DMAs, and it shows you the worth of those DMAs. So it says like, okay, 100,000 people viewed this segment and it was worth $10,000. And so I posted this on LinkedIn. I got I think 5,000 views on the video. Never had anything like that. I got dozens of comments. And then at the very bottom, so I say like, hey, we got on The Price is Right for the cost of product. This is how we did it. This is what it did for us. And I go, by the way, if you ever want to talk marketing, direct message me. And by adding that little line, I set up so many Zoom meetings, like 15-minute Zoom meetings. I just use something like Calendly, set up Zoom meetings. And then if I were, I probably should, I should probably take my own advice. If I were growing my PR website and blog, I'd say like, hey, be sure to join over here. And right there, I probably would have had 10 people on my list. And so not just one, but 10. And then of those 10, I probably would have tried to take them to a Facebook group or something else. And so there's so many different ways you can go about it. It's really just hustling and grinding and trying to find what works for you.
I'm curious how you manage 6 million people on a mailing list.
Oh my God. Yeah, me too, John. Pretty hard. There are these, so 2 tools that we recently implemented are called Segment and Braze. Segment, I'm not really sure has a great competitor, but Braze does. Braze has a couple competitors. One is Iterable. For you guys, for starting small, so Braze, by the way, I think we just renewed our contract. It's in the hundreds of thousands of dollars. So it's not going to be for everyone. But you know, we're getting into like marketing automation spaces. And so if this world works, if this is a world for you, I highly recommend a tool called, I'll type it out right here. Hands down, recommend this tool. It saves you employee headcount. You can create workflows and automations. You can tag people. You can say like, hey, create a bucket of people that always click a link in my email, create a bucket here. People that always open an email that never click, create a bucket here. And you start segmenting these groups. And you're like, okay, my highest affinity group is someone that opens every email, clicks every email, and always purchases. And so I know when I launch a product, I'm going to talk to those people. And so super like reasonably priced, super powerful. It works with SMS. It works with website notifications. So John, to answer your question, 100% you need automation and you need segmenting. Otherwise, you're going to go crazy.
How many folks do you guys have helping you out with that, Scott? I'm assuming it's not just you with the emails and all that.
So actually, Kyle, who joined, who just messaged here, he's on my team, and so he's helping us out. I'd say Wise is special because our marketing team is like 3 people big with 6 million customers. And that's because our philosophy is product first. But the other thing is when we have no margin, you have no margin for marketing, and we have no margin for marketing, you don't really have a lot of money for headcount. And so we don't have a ton of people doing it. And so we forced ourselves to learn automation, which is great, or like it's a blessing. Like I cannot tell you guys how thankful I am that I never had a budget for marketing. Because if I did, I would have been doing ads day and night, and I never would have learned PR. I never would have learned the community because it doesn't discipline you. And we may have never learned product market fit because when you have ads, you never think about all that stuff. And now I know I'm like starting to scope into like another form of marketing, but you know, Facebook has just really destroyed the like what marketing means because they try to make it easy, but really, you know, they just make you go broke. I like to say paid marketing is like glasses. They work when they're on, they don't work when they're off. Anyway, that's like another presentation, but yeah, so to implement Braze, we should have done it sooner than later. It's always better to do things sooner than later if you can afford it. It's better to hire someone sooner than later. And so for something like Braze, you'll need engineers to help you out and be dedicated to helping you. You'll probably need, for us, we have app and we have web, and we want to send events from both into Segment. And so you need someone to set up Segment. You need an engineer to help you on the app side, on the website. But for ActiveCampaign, you don't. You might need your web developer, and that's it. So to answer your question, with automation, you don't need a ton of people on your team to manage something like 6 million people. One person can do that with the right automation tools.
So let's see. Would anyone like to ask about your own? What was that, John? John?
Thanks so very much. I have to go.
Oh,
Bye-bye.
okay. Would anyone want to ask anything about their own company or anything, and just do some brainstorming now or anything? Okay.
Hey, Scott, great talk. I have to leave as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you guys for coming. I really appreciate it. Again, reach out to me on email. You will not, so many people do not. Don't be that person. Reach out to me on email.
Thanks, Scott. Take care.
Yep.
Bob, I'll contact you. I'll email both you and Keenan afterwards. So, all right. And well, so I'll end it on this then. Just this last round of the Seattle Angels Conference, for example, 81 one-minute pitches that we were talking to, and I was in these Zoom rooms talking to people, and something that John said was basically like, it's up to the founders to go out, reach out to the Angels, and make your relationships. And ultimately, as we talk about this type of marketing, it's a relationship game, right? Why do people like Nike shoes? Because it's not just because they like Nike shoes. The brand means something. And then on a one-on-one level, when you're talking about founders and startups, it's the same thing, right? So of all of the founders that I met that night, a bunch of them linked in with me. Only one person asked to actually talk to me on LinkedIn. And only one person actually reached out and said, oh, can I talk to you and get your opinion on something? Everyone else was like, great to meet you. If you have any questions on our pitch deck, go, reach out, okay? And so I spent an hour talking to that one founder that reached out and asked me. So at the end of the day, and this is just like something with life, a lot of people are willing to give you advice if you want it and you ask for it. If it just seems like you're just asking, if it's a one-sided thing, and this is part of what Scott was talking about, if it just seems all one-sided and that really is what you want, then people get very turned off, just like brands are just pushing themselves and not really talking about what other people care about. Those brands die. So, Scott has offered, and I hope that people take him up on it because it is a very generous offer.
Thank you, Roy.
Okay. So with that, if there's not any other questions, thank you for coming. This is being recorded and will be put onto the YouTube channel that John has. And I will, once again, anyone who wants to reach out to me, my LinkedIn information is in the chat window. And otherwise, we meet the second Thursday of every month, or that's my goal, second Thursday of every month on a different subject. And so until next time, good night.
Thank you, Roy. Thank you, Scott.
Nice meeting you all.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.